Right, we're good to go. The floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris, and thank everybody for jumping on to our educational webinar seminar chats that we have here every Thursday at 2 o'clock Central Time, which is Central Time. I am down here in Texas. My name is Keelan Johnson. I'm the brokerage sales manager. And a short little intro. I've been in insurance about 25 years, but now over at Penny and happy to be here. A little bit about that's relevant to today is that Chad and I also worked in the final expense industry for a stint of about 16 years combined. So this is near and dear to our hearts, the final expense industry. So just wanted to welcome everybody over here. And again, I will turn the mic over for an intro to Chad Strano.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. I'm excited to be on here today. Thank you for inviting me on here, Keelan. As he mentioned, we had worked together previously in final expense for a long period of time, and our paths both found our way over here to Penny. So we're both incredibly happy to be part of the team here, and look forward to going over some final expense stuff with you guys this afternoon.
Perfect. Thanks, Chad. So I just want to give a little bit of background about who we are here at Penny and what this could mean for you and for your agency. We are a brokerage here, and we support these 5 pillars behind this Mr. Your Name. And your name can be there and sitting at that desk, and you are the forward-facing agent for your people in your area. But we have the 5 pillars of support behind you with life, annuities, long-term care, disability, and advanced market space. So if you find yourself out there a little lonely and looking to add a pillar to your business in any one of these, we have a vast experience and a large back office support for any one of these. So please reach out to us after this if you're looking for any growth in any one of these pillars. So we're happy to be here, and we're happy to support you. And I think we do a pretty good job at it. So we'd love to have you on the team and support you in your business. The next slide I want to kind of talk about is something a little simple. You're going to see some visuals here. I'm a visual guy only because my mother is 82 and still teaching at 58 years. So got a little teacher in me. But just a quick thing about what you're going to see in the future from us, the Penny App Assist program. And basically, we know that you're busy. We know this is a world. Thank you, Apple, for making everything easy and quick. So we want to be that for you also. We know with your job revolves around how quickly we can get things done efficiently. So we do have electronic applications that go over into our system. And, if the client is interested in a policy, we can send it over to us. We'll handle it all the way from our A team, which you'll see in just a second, all the way over to our case managers. We have a underwriting department, so if you have anything that's one-off, we can help you out there. Clearly, a lot of experience in that area with a gentleman named Mike Woods and Paulette. So we can help you out and make it the user experience that you've always been looking for versus just being out there on an island by yourself with a carrier or two. The next slide I'm going to show you also is in support of our A team. We have a great group of people behind the scenes that help you out. Your job, the agent's job over here, is to grab the application. We will help you find out where the person fits. Again, we have a vast array of carriers behind the scene too that we are partnered with. So we have all the greatest carriers out there, the greatest products, the greatest support. So you just find the client, talk to the client, and strike an interest, and we'll take care of the rest all the way through the A team. So again, if you're not on board with us, or even if you are, contact us. We can walk you through those processes and through an Insurio and help that user experience become clean and wonderful. So we'll start over here today. We're going to talk about final expense and why it matters. Why does it matter? Again, near and dear to our hearts. This is, tailored towards the people that are looking for something to take care of their families, maybe at the last moment, maybe not, maybe it's a pre-planning deal. But the final expense, what we look at is basically circled around a life insurance policy, which is based upon a whole life policy. So that's what we're going to be talking about. You're going to see today, which the beauty of final expense is there's guarantees there, there's growth there, and it will be there when your family completely needs it the most. I'm going to turn the mic over here and let Chad Strano talk a couple of slides.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Some of the realities families are facing here is the costs of funerals out there. They're always going to be rising. They're never going to be decreasing, just like everything else out there in this, with all this inflation going on. The reality is that these costs, just like any others, are going to increase. So when it comes to final expense, there's a real peace of mind of getting something put in place for the family, so that there's not that worry there when the time comes, for that family to deal with a loss, which we all do. If at some point in time we're going to have to deal with that. And as you can see, the funeral cost in the U.S. 6,500 to 9,000 just for the funeral, service, burial, vault, and plot is extra. A lot of people don't factor that in, but it's not usually included. And then miscellaneous expenses could add up to $1,000 or more. That easily could add up to that. Typical cost is 8,000 to 12,000. Out here in California, where I'm located, I would say those costs are probably even higher. Just depending on where you are, those are going to vary. And then you can see on the sample invoice that we have over there how quickly that all can add up. You put all those services together, line by line by line, it quickly comes to about $13,000 when you factor in the casket, all the services, the plot, the vault, all the permits, transportation, all the other things that are involved in getting the body prepared and getting the services taken care of. So putting something in place for your client and having a conversation for those that may not have something already or may medically have issues getting covered. I mean, that's where final expense comes in. It's quick, it's easy, it helps folks that can't necessarily qualify or afford traditional life insurance coverage for whatever those reasons are. So this is a great place to pivot.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. The emotional and financial reality. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to see families, having to put GoFundMe's together. Out here where I live in Southern California, I'm shocked at how often I'm driving through and I see people out there with signs for a car wash, so they can get the cars washed for a donation because they got caught off guard by an expensive funeral from somebody that passed away at an untimely time. That all can be so easily avoided with a quick final expense policy to protect their loved ones. It's a conversation I would have when I'm sitting with client that has had, like I mentioned on the other side, has had problems potentially getting qualified before for coverage, or have for whatever reason can't afford a larger whole life or traditional policy. Another great thing that I'll add in right here before we go to the next slide is that final expense insurance coverage often, the claims process is often a little faster too. So the time between the death and the services being needed to be paid for is a lot quicker with a final expense policy. Oftentimes it's just, they have to prove the death has occurred with a death certificate, and that insurance company will release those funds so they can take care of their family and take care of those services. So even if they do have a regular life insurance policy or a whole life policy, I never let that stop me from talking to them about final expense, because with traditional life insurance policies, those claim cycles could take 30 days, 45 days, or even longer at times. Our final expense is meant to be a quick silver bullet to get that that claim paid out quickly so the family can get on with those services.
Perfect. Thank you, Chad. These are some kind of basic things, but I want you to just kind of squint your eyes and look at them a little bit. Why seniors want this coverage? We talk a lot, and we've always talked a lot. And again, Chad has been a producer too, and myself, Chad produced quite a bit, and so did I on our own pen. So we're very familiar with these conversations. And a lot of seniors are thinking, I just don't want to be a burden on my family. That's one of the bigger ones. It takes the burden off of the daughter and the granddaughter, knowing that there's something in place there, knowing that they won't have to use their own checkbook or credit card for the end of life stuff, which really relieves a lot of pressure for the whole family. You're protecting your children, you're maintaining dignity. Dignity is a big one there, and knowing that the end of life, they took care of business and make sure that burden didn't go over. And they're planning ahead and leaving. Sometimes, can leave a little bit behind. Some people want, cremation and then to take care of all that, which could be a little bit less, but they want to leave a little bit behind. Maybe they want to do a 25 or $30,000, and then leave another 10,000 towards a grandkid or something. Again, it comes down to budget, and we can talk about that too. We want to find the right and the proper coverage that fits their budget. Sometimes these clients are budget restricted, if you know what I mean, as fixed income. So we want to be able to work with that too. What is final expense? Again, I hate to just beat it to death, but it is important that you know this as you're talking to people. Your common coverage amounts, or some of the carriers will go up to 50,000. Once we get above 50,000, then we sometimes have to pivot over to a traditional whole life, maybe an IUL if they're looking for a little bit more coverage. But again, remind you, this piece of paper is about the final expenses, in addition to maybe a term that they're using to cover some of their immediate expenses if they were to pass, in a younger age. Don't forget about the debts and things. It's not just the burial. It's not just what's going to happen at the funeral home and the check you have to cut there. Lots of times there'll be some debts that are involved, maybe some medical bills and things that come along with it too. So always have those conversations with your people about, hey, what else do you have? Is there other things that need to be taken care of? Do we need a little bit more? Do we need to cover that funeral for 20 or 18,000 or 13, and then maybe get another 10 or 15 to leave the legacy for the family? Leave that cash. I had a client one time that I wrote a policy for 5,000, and he called me back and said, I want another one. So I kind of dug into it. We got a visit, and he was a very wealthy guy up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I said, why do you want this? And he said exactly what Chad said a while ago. I know y'all pay your claims quickly. And listen, I've got a son in Florida and one in California, and I know they're going to have out-of-pocket expenses just to get down here, just to take off work, just to eat and have a hotel room or whatever. So be thinking about that as you always talk to your clients. Ask about their family and what it's going to cost them to come take care of the house, to come settle the estate, to pay those smaller bills. I mean, are you going to put that on your family to open up their credit card for that? So those are some things to be thinking about too, in addition to just the funeral that we talk about. And we want to make it, affordable, reliable, simple. That's the other beauty of final expense. It's a simple, easy application process. Most times, and I would say probably 98, I don't know of any other time, you're not going to have to do a big blood or urine or anything of that nature. It all goes off medical background and medications. So we don't have to get deep into that conversation with them. It's already in paper and in the back of the scenes. So just if you get somebody who says, hey, I don't want to go through that underwriting and I don't want to go through that process, but I need something, this is the way to pivot. And again, we're here for you to work through that. Take the mic, Chad.
Can you back up to that slide over thing? I just wanted to add one more thing. You covered
Sure.
that great. I just wanted to chip in one last thing. Is that the coverage amounts 5,000, 50,000? A lot of times what the client's looking for is going to fit well with inside of that. Sometimes they're going to want higher amounts and they can afford higher amounts. And the great thing about being in the broker world is you have relationships with you can have multiple final expense carriers at your fingertips, so you can combine. I had to do this not long ago, where I had to combine a policy from two different companies to get them to the coverage amount that they wanted. He was more than happy. Shook my hand and was grateful that I was able to kind of put that together for him. So that's what's great. Just wanted to mention that even if one carrier stops at a certain amount, you can always bring in a second one to kind of backfill.
Nice, good point. Keep going.
Yeah. The types of final expense policies, this is pretty standard across the board amongst the industry. What you'll find is they're going to qualify one of three different ways. They're going to qualify with a level benefit or a graded benefit or a guaranteed issue, and I'll kind of describe the differences in three. Level benefit is going to be for folks that are in better than average health, good to better than average health for their age, and that's taking into consideration that most of these people are on medications. They're usually 55, 60 years and above, so they are taking some meds, but nothing that is, detrimental to their immediate health. So those folks that are in good or above average health are going to qualify for level. Graded benefits are usually for somebody that's got some issues, and it comes with a 2-year waiting period. A 2-year waiting period is there to protect basically the insurance company from everybody that's got one foot in the grave and one foot on the banana peel from applying for coverage and then passing away a week and a half after. So if they have some pre-existing conditions, some severe neuropathy, diabetic conditions, they're going to be put into the graded plan. And if they go 2 years, and oftentimes they do, most of the time that they do go the 2 years, then those benefits lock in 100% just like they would if they qualified under a level benefit. But that's where you're going to find those that are challenged health-wise fall. And then for some, they're not going to qualify for either level of grade, and they've got some extreme health issues, whether it be COPD, cancer history, congestive heart failure. There's a list of a dozen severe illnesses that would cause them to fall into the guaranteed issue. But good news is there's product out there for that. We have the carriers in place to provide that kind of coverage for those. So you don't have to walk out of the house without being able to help them with something, putting something in place. So that basically breaks down the three options that they're going to fall.
Chad, on number 2, on the graded, just real quick, on that 2-year
Sure.
period, if they were to pass in that 2-year period, is there some kind of benefit there during that 2-year period?
Yeah. No, I'm glad you caught that, and that's good that we explained that. So there's absolutely benefit. So the way it works in the first 2 years is a return of premium plus 10%. So if the client accepts the graded plan, they have to go 2 years, and once they exceed the 2 years, their benefits are 100% just like they would be on the level plan. If they pass away prior to the 2-year mark, they're going to take all the premiums that they've paid, add 10% to it, and cut the beneficiary a check for that amount. So there's absolutely no risk in that plan. When I sell it, I tell them, listen, start the clock as soon as possible, get through the 2 years. More than likely, you'll make it past those 2 years. And if you don't, well, your daughter or your son or your grandson is going to get all the money back that you paid plus 10%, which is better than it would be if it was stuck in a savings account at your local bank. So
Perfect.
Hopefully that explains the graded.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a breakdown list of the carriers we offer here from the top down. We got Americo, Transamerica, which I'm sure a lot of you on the call are familiar with Transamerica, Sons of Norway, Mutual of Omaha. Everybody knows Mutual Omaha, Foresters Financial, very good company. American Amicable, company that I used to write a ton of business for. I really like the way they do things over at American Amicable. They make things really easy on a final expense agent. Just their ease of use, the way they process their business, pay their claims. I'm very high on them. Corbridge is also great. They have all the three products that I just mentioned. They have the level, the graded, and also the guaranteed issue available there. So between all those carriers, you don't need to have every single final expense carrier out there. Having a good 2, 3, or 4 is really all that you need, and you can cover most of the bases.
Perfect. Thank you, Chad. So what are we looking for in a product? We just saw some of the carriers, and again, as we work through these things and as we work with you and everybody on the line here, we'll look at that. And again, you saw on the previous slide here, lots of times the premium isn't going to change all that much. You've got anything from 110 to 128, so you're talking about $18 difference. But what do we look for is, some carrier, the strength of the carrier is always important. And again, those are some strong carriers in the market space that we can help you out with to relay that to your client that it's a great carrier. It's always going to be there. Beauty of final expense level premiums. That is a huge thing here. The premiums will always be level for life. So you're not having those conversations about, oh my gosh, what if I outlive this? My premiums are going to go up, or if I'm not putting enough in there, is it not going to grow? It's always going to be there. One of the most level and secure policies that you can have in the market space. Lifetime coverage, it's guaranteed for life. So that's off the table too. So you don't have to worry about that. Fast underwriting. A lot of clients are looking for something fast. They want to get it locked in place and they don't want to wait. 30, 40 days and go through the rigmarole, if you will. So they want that. That's very important as you relate to the client. Competitive pricing. Of course, you saw prior to, we will always look for the most competitive pricing. Sometimes when it gets down into the graded and maybe the instant issues because of the carrier risk, it could be that gamut could stretch a little bit out depending on carriers, because some people like the non-standard kind of client and some don't. So we will work through that. And that's the beauty of us too, is that everybody on the line, is that the beauty of a brokerage is that these carriers change premiums and pricing all the time. We've seen that before in the company that we used to work for. And it does happen. The board of directors gets together and say, we need more premium. And there you go. So again, we always are here for you at any time to find who is hot in the market space at what time. Where can you find clients? Everywhere. Look around you. Everybody, is a candidate for a final expense. I really don't care if you're, these are the same type policies, the whole life policies that even, kids can get whole life policies. Teenagers can, we typically look for a different maybe product there, but it is built off that chassis. So anyone around you, everyone around you, start with your family, start with your cousins, aunts, uncles. Ask them, hey, is your stuff taken care of, and who's going to take care of you when you pass? It's not. Here's the thing about final expense: it's not if you're going to pass. Just like auto insurance or homeowner insurance, if you have a claim, everybody I think pretty much is 100% chance of us needing a final expense policy or passing away. If you're doing some campaigns, you like mailers. We've worked a lot of leads in there, so we can, you can look around and get into the campaigns. If you're a Medicare agent, great opportunity. I know there's some windows where you can't talk. We have a lot of Medicare agents that use final expense in their off time to solidify the deal. Facebook leads, again, there's a ton of companies out there to get leads. Referral. Hey, the best referral ever, Chad, could probably, mirror this too, is that once you write a policy for somebody and it comes back in their hands and you make that phone call to Bill Jones, say, hey, who else do you know that might that we might talk to? And you're going to get a ton of referrals in final expense if you just ask, because they're happy you did a good job. It was quick and easy. It makes them feel secure. It's a happy sale, and they are happy to send those referrals. And then maybe you want to get involved in some seminars or educational seminars. So a plethora of areas there where you can use final expense and talk to people, because most everybody is going to use it or need it. And if they don't, it's a great conversation because it's a warm welcome. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on that, as far as who needs it and who doesn't, and how to get clients, I want to give an example. I struck up a conversation with somebody that I was at a restaurant, and we were sitting at the bar, and I started talking to the gentleman, and I told him what I did, and he says, let me take your card. I think I need you. And I hear that all the time. And sometimes they call, sometimes they don't. This gentleman had called me, needed help. Since that's probably about 8, 9 years ago. Since then, he has referred me to, and I'm not kidding, or I'm not embellishing, probably close to 24 other family members over the last 7 to 8 years. It's amazing how large his family is. And I just got a call last weekend to go see his sister-in-law, I think is the relationship. But you got to tell people what you do, how you're able to help them, work that in, because you never know who you're going to meet, who's going to need you. And then once you've gained the trust of whoever that is, they're gonna do the referring for you. In most cases, if you've done a great job. So some ways to kind of get the conversation started is this is the best one when you're in a meeting with somebody that you're talking to. Have you set aside money for those funeral costs? When the time comes, who's going to write the check to the funeral home? Because, the funeral home, you go in to meet with them, they're going to say, I'm really sorry about your loss. But who's paying for all this at the same time? So having something in place and asking them if they have something there already is a great way to kind of flick that switch, that warning bell in their mind to take some action and get that taken care of, especially if they haven't put anything away. Most of the time, folks haven't. A lot of these folks that are responding to the marketing that comes through final expense are people on fixed incomes. They have money coming in, but they're just barely making ends meet. They don't have extra to put aside and save. And that's where we come in to help, solve that problem for them with a quick and easy final expense policy. Um, would you rather your family handle it or have it planned ahead? That's a great question too,
I
because
like
most
that one.
I love that one. And I agree with you because I know that I wouldn't want to burden my kids with anything. Okay. I was taught by my father a long time ago that burdens go up the ladder. They don't go down the ladder. So if I have a problem, I go to my mom and dad. If I have a problem, I'm certainly not going to leave it on my kids' doorstep to deal with. Um, so when you ask them that question, would you rather have your family handle it or not? Most people are very prideful and they say, no, I want to make sure this is taken care of. And I don't leave this hanging out there for the kids to deal with when I'm gone.
I like that blue box down there too. And just think about this as we transition to the next slide. Good questions build trust. Better questions create solutions. Just think about that in any of your insurance career. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, why Penny? Because we're going to have the tools and the support here, plus the expertise to help guide you. Okay, that's what we're here to do. We're here to help. We're your wingman. We want to make things as simple for you as possible as you go through the sales process. When it comes to having multiple carriers available, I mentioned that before. What an advantage! For so many years, I worked for a company where all I could do is offer their products only and nobody else's. And now, being at Penny, it's such an advantage to have all these different resources available in carriers. Um, it's a real benefit. So, getting you matched up with the right carriers, case design and support. We've got people in house here that specialize in that. Take advantage of that. Take the pressure off yourself. Turn it over to us. Let us put those things together. Those case designs. Those illustrations. Get those quotes for you. We're happy to do that. Marketing strategies. I have agents I speak with almost on a daily basis that want to strategize a marketing campaign. How do I reach these people? How do I keep my calendar full? Um, Make appointment with us. Have those conversations. I love those conversations, frankly, because I know when an agent's talking to me about marketing, that's when they're right at the beginning of starting something when it comes to production. Because one leads to the other. Um, Fast underwriting assistance, yes, of course. When we're talking about final expense today, what's great about the underwriting there is it's usually almost a 24-hour immediate decision or a decision within 24 hours. There's not a lot to think about in the final expense world. They're going to take the application, they're going to run a prescription check, some of them run an MIB check, and then they make their decision 90% of the time immediately. If not, it goes into, underwriter review, and typically within 24 to 48 hours, that decision is made and the policy is issued, or if not, a reason is given to why not. Ongoing education and training. That's part of what we're doing here today and that we do on a weekly basis over here at Penny. We're going to change the topics from week to week and make sure we're covering all the bases and getting the education out there for you guys and the opportunity to sit and listen in and learn about one topic to another. We're going to continue to do that. We look forward to doing that.
Perfect. So we'll kind of round this out a little bit, and keep everybody on track here and try to get our 30-minute window here. A couple of closing thoughts here. I'm just going to read because I think it's impactful here. Final expense insurance helps families in their time of need and helps you build stronger, more rewarding businesses. That's what is near and dear to my heart too, is, we are put in this position as life insurance agents, and we go through the test and do our continuing education and pay our fees to help people. We serve. This is a service oriented type policy, is to serve others. And you can never go wrong by asking someone, hey, by the way, is your family taken care of? Are you taken care of? Because that's emotional and it hits near and dear. You're not selling anything. So in final expense, you don't sell, SELL, you serve. SERVE, serve. So that's what makes it fun and rewarding at the end of the day, is serving your fellow man and woman, in their time of need. So we really, really, this hits near and dear home to our hearts, even though it may be a smaller policy. But hey, those things lots of times, and I'm sure Chad can mirror those too, end up where you're going to get some more cases and find some more opportunities. And who knows what you'll find in the money jar in the backyard in the can. But if you take care of the basics, the rest will come because you've got the trust there. And then really just to kind of round this out, I want everybody to know and just to remember that on our platform here, we have every solution. And you're going to hear us talk about different ones. We'll shift gears to high advanced markets. Chad does a great job on the DI side. We've got long-term care, and any of those things over there that we can help you out with. We've got a parent company, InZone, that is wonderful for us. They handles P&C, personal lines, and commercial. A lot of wealth and knowledge over there. If you're looking for any of those things, we can hook you up with some of those people with our brother company over there. So we are a full rounded solution here with Penny and InZone, and we're proud to be in that family and proud to help and serve y'all. So if that being said, there are two ugly men again. So that's myself and a little AI, I guess. I probably have a little more gray than that right now. I think Chad knows about those are high school pictures, but anyhow, so
found my prom picture.
Prom picture, there we are. So anyways, reach out to us. Y'all can find us. And if not, look for us. And if not, we'll send out, you've got our email addresses and everything on here. And we'd be glad to help y'all out in any way that we can. So I'll turn the mic back over and I'll stop sharing and see if we have any questions here.
Yep, we have a few questions that came in. First question, what marketing or lead sources are working best right now for final expense? I know that you guys touched on that, but for people who may have joined late, can you go over that again for them?
I'll grab that. Marketing, when it comes to final expense, direct mail has always been the big daddy of lead sources. Typically suited for face-to-face sales for folks that are in the field and they're meeting one-on-one. That's the driving one. That and Facebook leads are very strong too. When it comes to agents that are transitioning, they're doing all their business remotely or over the phone. There's a lot of live transfer companies out there, internet lead companies that are out there that I would recommend that could keep you busy with high intent live transfers. I would say those would be the top ones that I would recommend. And then on top of that, the referrals building into that, because there's nothing better than a free lead, in my opinion, as opposed to one you have to pay for. So, using one of those sources and then supplementing that with referrals throughout. I mean, that's insurance 101 stuff. We should always be asking our clients to point us in the direction of others to help them. If not to buy a product from us, at least benefit from the information that we have so they're informed and know that they have options there.
I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit too. I mean, if you're involved in your community, you've got church groups, organizations, you've got chamber of commerces, anything you're involved with, the library, the school, these are all people, y'all. I mean, these are regular, average, everyday Joe people. Every person is a referral. So in this industry, this is one product that you can go to almost everybody and say, by the way, we do this and we protect families. Well, how do you protect families, Keelan? Well, we make sure that that your loved ones are taken care of. And do you have anything put in place? I can show you something really quick and easy, and to get you some numbers and get you some protection. And don't forget that this is final expense is also a whole life policy, everybody. It does grow cash value inside of it. We don't talk about that a lot in final expense because we want to make sure it's about the death benefit. But in the event, not that that's how you sell it, but in the event 10, 15 years down the road, they decide they don't need it anymore, there will be some value in there. So added. So don't forget, it's not just a throw your money into the wind. There is some value there, and you will have some cash value build up in that policy because that is the tool that we're using.
Yeah, most of them are structured for the cash value to reach the face amount at age 100. So the cash value is going to increase every year that they keep their policy. And if they end up having to stop paying premiums, they're going to be left with options, either to surrender and take the cash, or they'll even have a reduced paid up face amount available. So That's good to mention in the sales process, and they know what they're buying is. It's not like term insurance where you stop paying the term coverage goes away, or auto insurance, right? We don't pay our premiums, we lose our coverage. It's more solid, and it makes them feel better about the purchase when they make it.
Thanks for that. And the next question that came through, is there an application you can share with us so we can have our interested clients fill it out?
Yes, I'll field that. LaShonda, that's a great question there. And if you ping Chad or I after this, and we'll also remember to email you a simple form that you can keep on your desk to answer that question. So we would love to be there for you. And I think I saw another question over here that LaShonda also, do you have an estimate chart to show typical premiums? What I suggest, LaShonda, I don't know right offhand if you are a current agent with us or not, but as you on board with us over here at Penny, you saw the list of carriers there. You will have easy access to our platform. So at any point in time between a term and a final expense in 10 seconds, you can rate anybody you want to through those platforms and get those numbers just instantly. So I would suggest to get with myself or Chad. If you are a life insurance agent, we would love to show you what you can use for your clients to get those resources, because it is kind of time sensitive, which is wonderful. So we would love to have you have access to that. And that's what we do over here at Penny.
Yeah, those rate calculators are pretty user friendly, and you can turn some numbers around in 20, 30 seconds and have what you need available to you.
Yep, and we had a really good comment come through. I'm glad this was mentioned. Marketing materials are helpful. Again, I'm really glad that was mentioned because we actually have a resource library that we developed, and it's available on the Penny website. And I dropped the URL in chat. It's a complete library of all our marketing materials, and we update that, I would say, daily. I would say daily basis.
Great.
So a great
Isn't is
resource.
it isn't our previous webinars posted there as well, also for agents, or is that located in a different area?
Some of our webinars are located there. I dropped a separate URL in the chat for
Gotcha.
our educational series webinars. It has all our recordings and upcoming webinars. And again, that's dropped in the chat.
Fantastic,
Super.
Chris.
Next question that came through, and this is a great question, and I know a lot of agents are wondering this. In what ways can Penny help agents with final expense?
Well, I think we kind of showed you the ways on here. Obviously, the ways that we can do it is for you to have access to multiple carriers and be able to have, again, we have a underwriting team also. So lots of times in final expense, you may get some clients that have health issues where you're going to, most all the time. So again, that's what Chad and ourselves at the brokerage side are good for, is to work with you and to throw these through to our underwriter to see if we have a client that's possibly going to be, a standard or a graded or or an instant issue or whatever it may be. So we do that, and we can run through those elements or those medications if you just have somewhat of a guess there, so that we can get those quotes and you can have those quotes in your hands quickly. So that's, maybe that answered your question. I don't know, Chad, you want to piggyback, but that's what we do
Yeah,
over here. That's what our
no,
job is.
100%. Everything that you just said and more. I mean, I can even help you strategize how to fill up your calendar with more prospects that fall into this niche. And I even have presentations. I've got a whole binder full of presentations I've used over the years that you could use, take a little bit out of, add your own to, or use. So I'm happy to share any of the information I've gotten over the years from working in this side of the business, and please utilize it. Reach out to us as a resource for that.
Cool, thanks for that. And next question that came through, what do some agents misunderstand about final expense?
That it's hard to qualify for it, that they're never going to get it, or that they can't afford it. Those are usually the ones that I hear or have heard.
Chris and Chad too on that. That's a great point, not to interrupt, but a lot of them that I've heard before too. A lot of people like to diagnose themselves. Maybe they went out and they applied for a $200,000, IUL somewhere with Joe Blow Insurance. Don't get me wrong. Just an insurance carrier and they got denied on the larger policies or denied from that carrier because of, dementia or gabapentin or their diabetes, and they were told once that they don't qualify, so they think they can't qualify all the way around. It's a misnomer there. Final expense is easier underwriting to a degree. It's looser, it's better, it is suitable for people with impairments. And a lot of people will go, "Oh my gosh, I had a stent 3 years ago. There's no way I'll get anything." It's like, no, you can. we
Yeah.
we do that all the time. So that's probably me. The biggest misnomer is they try to self-qualify for themselves, and just again, return a question with a question. Say, "Hey, you know what though? I've got another product and some more carriers. Let me see what I can do." Because I think we might be able to get you through. Matter of fact, I have put people in policies like you before, so I'm pretty sure I know we can do it. Just give me a shot at it. That's kind of, for me, that was one of the self-insuring objection. People think they already know, and they just haven't seen the final expense product.
You'd be surprised how many times that somebody thought that they were uninsurable because of what Keelan just mentioned, that they've had an experience in the past where they were declined or rated or whatever, and then I've been able to apply them and they get preferred rates. I even got a gentleman approved with a brain aneurysm that he had 20 years ago. He thought there was no chance and heck that he would have a prayer to get anything, and I was able to get him through on a graded plan. But that's why those conversations should be had, and that's our job as agents to make sure we do.
And we have another question that came through. What's a good way to position when a client states they can self-insure?
Yeah, I feel that too. I had that before too. So remember when Chad said that, if somebody says they can self-insure and they said, "I've got more money than, anybody," my response back is two things. Said, "Well, would you rather save your cash and use this policy to pay for your burial and save that $20,000 or $30,000 versus just letting go of it and self-insure yourself now?" Let's say this, say you're 65 years old, and the average age of death in America, everybody, is 77. So that's a pretty standard 77. So let's get real. If somebody's 65 years old, Chris, and they're 65, by the time they reach 77, I hate to be, but half the people their age are going to be passed away. That's just the way it goes. If you got 77 in the middle and you've got people that are living older, a lot of people aren't going to make it to 77. 50% of the world's not going to make it to 77 if that's the average. So what I say is that I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, mister, but if you pay 12 years into this thing and you've got a $20,000 policy, you're going to be paying in, whatever it may be, $5,000, $6,000 to get a $20,000 benefit. Where can you get your return on investment like that? Not that we have to use that for that, but how about we just sew this thing up? A lot of times too, they use life insurance because they want this money to go to a specific kid. There's one kid in the family that is going to take care of business and two that won't. And they say, "Hey, I'm going to write this policy. I'm going to make Jill my beneficiary because I know at the very end of life, Jill will take care of this, or the other ones won't take care of it. So I'd rather tag this money for this specific purpose with this." And remember also, kids can buy policies on parents. It's not just parents buying the policies for themselves. If you're a son and you've got an older mom or whatever, you can buy it, you can pay for it, and the mom can be the insured, and you be the beneficiary. There's a vested interest there. So if you're younger and you're 40 or 50 or 60 and you think, "I don't need this," you've got other insurance, that's fine. But if you want something to protect because you're going to be coming out of your pocketbook, that's also a protection for your pocketbook to go, "I'm going to buy this on mom and dad." That way, when they pass away, I don't have to cut the check. It's worth it to me to have a whole life policy that grows cash value than it is to come out of my pocket in 3 or 4 years of $20,000. So remember, the protection can work upwards. It can work sideways to your spouse. It can work anywhere. You can buy a policy for someone else as long as there's somewhat of a vested interest. And some carriers, they don't care about that either. So we can talk about that offline. But that's what I would say is like, hey, keep your cash, keep your money, invest it, put it in there. But if you're 65, and $20,000, I'm not saying you're going to die before 77. You can't say that in the speech, but the average is 77. So it might not be a bad overall investment if you're the investment kind of guy. That's, I don't know if you want to piggyback, Chad, but that's what I say.
Yeah, you come up against that every once in a while where somebody's, they're just a little more affluent, they got more money in the bank, and final expense is just not going to be the right fit for them. And that's when you can pivot and talk about maybe some other solutions, whether that
Yeah.
be whether that be an annuity or some other type of product that would be better suited for them. If that doesn't end up going anywhere, also, I've in the past said, look, it's fantastic that you're in the financial shape that you're in, but you're the minority. The majority are most people are scrambling to put together that kind of money. Who else might you know in your family or your circle that may not be as well off as you are that would benefit from hearing information on how to take care of this problem? And then oftentimes that'll open the door to some referrals. So, you're not going to sell everybody, but what's great about our business is you don't have to sell everybody to make a good living at what we do. So
That's a great open door there. Hey, how much money do you have? You got 300,000 or 400,000? Let's talk annuity.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what the beauty of being with Penny is. You have that pillar too. Transition, perfect. Not a final expense client. Let's go for the gusto here. Let me show you what else we can do. That's the beauty of being with Penny.
well said.
I think those are all the questions that came through.
Those were good ones.
Any closing thoughts?
I'm just going to close on this too. Again, I'll rehash it, and I said it before. And then final expense, it's not a matter of if, it's when. Think about that as you talk to your clients, because that'll make the conversation a little more open. And two, as you're pitching final expense, remember you can't go wrong because you're serving your fellow people. It's a good opener. Nobody's going to be mad at that. You're not selling it. You're serving people. I'll just end with that. Think about that. We protect people and we serve. And I'll end there.
Yeah, and the way I look at it is each time I have the privilege of having a conversation with somebody, my only goal is to get as much information that I can from them so that I can help fix whatever problem that it is that they have. If I can't provide them a solution to what they perceive as a problem, then, I'm not doing my job. So that's really my only focus, is to put my needs ahead of their needs and have open ears and listen. And through that, just, whether it's final expense or if it's disability or an annuity, whatever the products that we have available are, just matching them up properly.
Absolutely.
Great. Thanks for joining, everyone. Just a reminder that you can access all our webinar recordings and upcoming webinars, and I dropped the URL in the chat. And thank you, Keelan and Chad. Also, our webinars are every Thursday at 12 p.m. PST. Again, thank you, Keelan and Chad.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Chad.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And thank you all for joining us today.
Have a great week.